this is a card model. This is not a free model, but it might as well be because the cost is very, very minimal. You print it off. You can go to our website, newtracksmodeling.com, and download it in any scale you want. There's a card on our website that shows you how much you have to enlarge it from the HO model that's on the site to be in your scale, or to reduce it if you're in scale. So we've got tonight, we have a designer of the service station, Paul Egrid, and we've got two modelers that are going to build this card model using two ways that you can do it. In other words, two different techniques of building the same model in card. This is an awfully nice model that Paul's designed because it's got an interior as well as the outside of the model. So the two modelers that are going to build Paul's design are David Ridd and Father Ron Walters. And I know that Paul wants to say a few words because he's a designer. He's the one that created this thing in the first place. So Paul, welcome, and thank you so much for doing this for us.
First off, thank you. And even though I am the designer, it takes people like Father Ron or Dave Rehrig to bring those designs to life. And those are the people who really deserve the thank yous. So other than that, I'm just going to turn the program back over to you. I'll be listening. If someone has a question for me, I'll gladly jump in.
Well, I don't have a question, just a comment. My understanding is if people want to change this a little bit, maybe put some different signage and that kind of thing, that you can help them figure out how to do that. Is that right?
I will gladly try and give anybody a hand who wants to contact me. Yes.
That's great. So, David, let me turn to you. You're going to be one of the builders. David has built on the show before a card model of an engine house. And then donated it on the show to a lucky winner. So David, thanks for doing this again. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to how you're going to build this model.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me on here, Paul. I'm just going to go my screen share right now. And this is a little PowerPoint slideshow I put together just to kind of get started with this, if you will. So here we're going to share this screen. Hopefully it'll come up. Okay. Does that show up for everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Okay. This is what the station looks like. This is actually a pilot model that I built. It's not exactly the same as what will be in the build along, but it's pretty close. Okay, well, I'm not getting, oops. Now this isn't working the way I wanted it to. For some reason, it's not moving. Let me try this again.
Remember your up and down arrows and enlarging that.
No, all I get is a ding.
Okay, go to slideshow at the top.
Yeah.
Click on slideshow. See where it says slideshow next to your window? Format, tools, and slideshow. Right there.
Oh, it's covered over.
No, tools, and then slideshow is right next to it. Oops.
Yeah, I know, but I can't get to it. I've got to zoom. Let me back out of here and
Yeah,
let's
try
it over again.
You'll get it.
Let me get here. And I'll start my slideshow here. Of course, now I can't get out of it.
Yeah, share screen.
Yeah, but I don't have it.
You must have full screen.
Let me do this. Father Ron can't be with us tonight, but he sent a video. Pat, can you play his video? And Dave, this will give David a chance to get his set up.
David, you've got it yet?
No, I gotta figure out how to do this. I did it the other night.
Okay, just hang in there. I'll let you play with it.
Yeah.
I'll get Father Ron's going and then you can go back to you. Oops, somebody cut me off.
There we go. Okay, now it's working. I don't know what was wrong with it before, but
Go for it.
go for it. Okay. So anyway, this is a station design. This is just an introduction. First thing is you need to get some tools around, and I consider the printer to be a tool. I have an inkjet Epson. It's an ET 3760. I bought, I don't know, a year and a half ago. I like it because it's one of those tank printers, because you go through quite a bit of ink when you're doing this project, or any printing project for that matter. And then you need an assortment of hand tools, which I'm going to describe in some following slides. And we need some cardstock and some paper. The cardstock that I use typically is Nina brand. I use a 65, 110, and 90-pound card, depending on the scale I'm building. This particular model we're building in HO scale, and I'll be using the 110-pound card. The bottom photo, I just took some of my specialty paper. I have some high definition presentation paper from Epson. Makes a brighter print. And actually, I'm going to use that later on in the presentation. Not tonight and probably not next week, but I'll show you how it is. And then I have some self-adhesive label paper. And that's kind of important according to the one thing we're going to do. The first thing you want to do is print the designs on the 110-pound card using the best resolution on your printer. After they're printed up and the ink is dry, which with my Epson, it says usually let it sit about a day. I've never really had a problem with it, but the ink does tend to set into the paper, if you will, and it has a drying time. So after it's dry, hit it with a clear spray, like a Krylon maybe, or anything that you buy at a hardware store or any place like that. I usually try to get the cheapest I can find. It's just something to help give a little protection to the finish. It doesn't take much. And some cutting tools. A large snap-off knife, 18mm here, is good for cutting large sheets of heavy card. You want an X-Acto or a scalpel for fine cuts. The one I use the most of all is the 9mm Olfa snap-off knife. And I use their ABB blade, which is extra sharp. I use a pair of regular Fiskar scissors I bought at Walmart, and a self-healing cutting mat. And I have some scribing and burnishing tools. I use actually this is a veneer roller, but basically the same thing as a seam roller for wallpapering. I use it all the time. And I have a burnisher that was from Excel. It's got a little, like a spoon shape tip on it. And then there's a Brookstone burnisher, which I've had for years and I hardly ever use. And then from Blick Artist Materials, I got this ball end embossing tool. You can't see it, but on the very tip ends is a small ball. I got the smallest one that they make. The tool I use for scribing most of the time is my Starrett sheet metal scriber. You got to be careful with it because it's a sharp point and it will go right through the paper if you're not careful. Measuring tools, I use optional dial calipers. I have a little X-Acto triangle that I use for making small cuts, like you're cutting out windows and doors and stuff like that. Comes in handy. I used a stick-on tab for like an index tab and a file folder. Stuck that onto the surface of it so I can pick it up and move it around, because otherwise you can't grab a hold of the darn thing. I have a 12-inch steel ruler with a cork backing for non-slip and a regular scale rule. And for handling, forceps, I don't use very often. Sometimes they come in handy. Self-closing tweezers are handy, and these are a little bit larger ones. And then I use a fine point tweezer for manipulating small pieces, and a larger serrated jaw tweezer for the bigger pieces. And get yourself some glue. I use Aleene's or Eileen's, however you pronounce it, tacky glue. That's for almost all my assembly work. You can use a wood glue if you want, or like this Yoo-hoo all-purpose glue. It's pretty much comes down to preference, your own personal preference. I use all of them kind of interchangeably, but there are some purposes that some of them work better than others. And I also use Elmer's stick glue. That's the kid glue that you buy in a Walmart. And not shown in this photo is canopy glue. And that might take a little bit of explanation. Canopy glue is used primarily in building model airplanes. They use it to glue the clear canopy onto the fuselage of a plane. And you can get that at any store where they sell model airplane materials, you know. And of course, liquid PSA, I got that. The only place I've ever seen where they have that is Micromark. It's pressure sensitive adhesive is what PSA stands for. But it's in liquid form. So you can brush it onto the back of paper or something, let it dry. And then you've got pressure sensitive adhesive on that. And CA, of course, is super glue, which I don't like to use because I have my fingers in it. I use markers to color the edge of the cut paper. These I got from Blick Artist Supply, and they're a lot of different places you can get them. You go to most any place, even Walmart would have them. I find the most useful are different shades of gray and like an umber, like a raw umber. The umber is up here at the top. The other thing that would be handy is if you can find a color that would be matched to your building color, the outside of your building that you're making. That might be a little tough because you never know exactly what these colors are going to be looking like until you try them. They don't look the same as what's on the cap, I can guarantee that. Okay, and then some assembly aids that I use. Magnifier can be helpful, especially as you get older like me and your eyesight's not so good anymore. I have some heavy weights that I brought along with me from when I used to teach a high school industrial arts shop, and that was a long time ago. But I found them very handy. These are cut off pieces of brass, aluminum here, scrap. And then I also use assorted clamps, rubber bands, elastic bands. They're not shown here. Now, if you're going to build this the way I did it, with the what I call a sticky label window method, you need to get yourself some self-adhesive label stock. I bought this stuff online from a company called officesupply.com. I don't have any stores around me where I can buy this stuff other than a Walmart, which even there is like 20 miles away each, you know, back and forth. So I do a lot of my shopping online. This came through Amazon, $9.72 for 100 sheets. and it's 8.5 by 11. That's pretty cheap. I don't know if you go to Walmart, you'll find Avery labels. They'll be at least twice that much. In fact, the only thing I found was like a 10 sheet pack for about $10, something like that. So it's like 10 times cheaper. But you'll need that if you're going to use my method for making windows. Then the last thing you're going to need is some heavy cardboard or chipboard for your wall reinforcement. And by heavy, I'm talking 20 thousandths to 40 thousandths thick. You can use a cereal box cardboard. And that'll work fine if you sand off the clay coating that's on the printed side. And then you want some clear acetate to make window glass. And as an option, you can put the whole thing on a piece of plywood or MDF for base. And that's about it for my introduction. Next week, I'll get started on part 1 with the build. So any of you who want to build along, go back and get this material, have it ready for your first building session next week. Okay, any questions?
David, thank you so very much. Let's turn now, Pat, if you could run the video from Father Ron. Father Ron's building in a different way than David is.
Hello from Rome. Yes, Rome. I am here attending a meeting in my role as a priest. When this airs on July 13th, I will be somewhere in the air between Rome and the US. Paul Egri has provided some quality prints of a service station. David Rarig will be showing how to build a beautiful card model that few will be able to tell was printed on your computer's printer. I will be doing something a little different. I will also be using cardstock, paper, and cardboard to build the same service station, but from scratch. For beginning modelers, often the idea of scratch building can be a scary thing. Beginning modelers often do not have the supplies and tools that more advanced modelers use. I want to show that someone can build a beautiful model using ordinary things you may already have around the house. For instance, index cards, a cereal box, some blank paper, a box cutter, a ruler, a pencil, and so on. The build will require some planning and a little experimentation. You may also make some mistakes, but what you end up throwing away will probably not cost you very much, perhaps less than a penny. The skills you learn, you can apply to more advanced model building later in cardstock, in wood, cardstock, or perhaps even styrene. After building the service station with David, you may want to try a different kind of scratch build of the same service station. Good luck.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the 2 methods that you're going to see. And how we're going to do these is David will do it 1 week and Father Ron will do it the next week. And then David will come back and do his again. And then next week after that, Father Ron will follow and do his second one. So we'll go from one to the other until we have gotten both of them to complete their kit. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you learn something from both of them. I'm sure you will, because you've seen, as I said, David build before, and you've seen some of Father Ron's previous models and how he builds. So I think this is really going to be educational and enjoyable. And I encourage you to download the service station in your scale and then see how you want to build it and the materials that you want to use in your your modeling of this service station. So David, Father Ron, Paul, thank all three of you so very much for doing this. I really do appreciate it. And I think this is going to be just a fabulous demonstration of what's involved in card modeling and how it can help all of us in our modeling. Thanks again so very much.